Today, we have a very special guest. She's an incredible entrepreneur who's made waves in education, known for her innovation, resilience, and passion. Please welcome Elia Barré, the founder of English Coaching with Elia Barré. Thank you so much for joining us today, Elia.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you too. Let's dive in.
Well, so as you said, my name is Elia, and I was born and raised in La Réunion, and I've always been passionate about English. So I traveled quite a bit, and since my return in La Réunion, I decided to start my own business related to my passion, English. Sure. I'm 37 years old. I'm a mom, and I was born in Saint-Pierre, La Réunion, but I was raised in Saint-Benoît, and I did part of my studies in Saint-Denis and in Paris and in London. And I came back 2 years ago to my home island, La Réunion, to start a new life with my little family. Being an entrepreneur is quite an adventure, to be honest. It's also something that I've been thinking about for a few years already. But it's mainly an opportunity for me to maybe to answer a problematic and try and be good at it. I decided to start my own business when I decided to come back to La Réunion. I had been working for a company in Paris during 8 years, and since the moment I decided to come back to La Réunion, I knew I needed to make a big change, a change of place, a change of life, but also a change in terms of meaning in what I can accomplish. Well, I had a certain vision of what I was to expect before I came back to La Réunion, before I got to know about the territory and the needs and the reality. So there was this vision, and then there was the vision of when I came back and I started to be a bit more familiar with what was happening on the territory, because I had left during 15 years. So things had happened in La Réunion, things had evolved. And so I was glad to dig a bit into what was the problematic around learning English, because this was really my thing, my passion. My vision was really to be to get a good balance between what I wanted and what the reality of the market was. I'd say the first big challenge was to be a bit more familiar, as I said before, because it was very new for me, the idea of owning your business, creating things by yourself, and go and get money, for your own living. So this was really a very big part for me, and also to understand, the cultural ways, even though I'm from La Réunion, it was all new for me. It was a new territory, a new service I was providing. yet I had this passion, but I had to maybe to ask people a bit more about what they needed before I could offer a service. I was lucky enough to have savings, but also, thanks to the French government, I benefited from money from France Travail after I quit my previous job. So I had this very secure time during which I could take the time to know more about the market and create my business. And so yeah, it was a real luxury, if I can say so. Well, it happens quite a lot on a very regular basis, to be honest. And actually, my business is very recent. I started, early 2024, so it's very, very early. So I still struggle with that, but I also tell myself, okay, this is the beginning. This is the first year, and you need to be okay with that. It's going to happen. Nothing is going to be perfect. So yeah, I try and be reasonable when I face doubts. And also I try to do some yoga and do some dancing, take care of the things that I love, the person, the people that I love to make sure that, okay, this is just a moment, but it doesn't define my whole life. Well, I've always been troubled with, having the idea, being innovative, because I've always heard people saying, okay, innovation is the key if you want to go, and start your own business. But in the end, innovation can be very, very simple. It can be, treating your clients, as they should be treated, And so I think I got to the point where I was very aware of what people needed. And basically, I was tired of listening to people around me, relatives, friends, people I met, at different events. They were all saying, well, I'd love to do this. I'd love to travel. I'd love to do that kind of business. But, I don't speak English. I'm so bad at English. And I was like, no way. This is impossible, to have this kind of mindset. I got to learn English, and I'm French. I'm from Réunion Island. So others can do it. And what are the means to get to this goal? So this was the idea, to change people's mindset around learning English and speaking English. I think what I like the most is the flexibility to manage my private and my professional life. It's also the challenges, to be honest. It can be very exciting and also difficult at sometimes. But I think I really enjoy the freedom of planning a specific time for creating things, planning some time to meet people, new customers. It's to be honest, is the freedom of that I was given by choosing this path. Let me think. Probably thanks to the social medias. I had started to communicate on my new activity, and I think it was someone who contacted me on LinkedIn. Actually, I've started to use it. I was quite afraid of them, all these tools that I didn't know a thing about. But it happens to be great tools that can save you a lot of time. I'm not saying that the AI is really doing the job, but you can use it as a tool, and it's very helpful indeed. Competition is a real thing, especially when you are on such a small territory, such a small market as in La Réunion. But I think, the more you have competitors, the more your industry or your service is, quite healthy, well, there are more opportunities. So it's a sign of that your business can be valuable. So the idea is to work in a smart way with the competitors, because we all have different approaches when leading your own business. So it shouldn't be something to be to be feared. Well, you still need to be how can I say that? Patient, and also be careful, because some will just copy you at some point. But when you are at the point where people copy you, which is not my case yet, I think it's a very good sign that you're actually leading the market. But we're not there yet. Sure. This is very new for me, because I'm a mother of 2 young kids, and it's I think it's always going to be something difficult to manage. But fortunately, being back in La Réunion, I'm closer to my family, and I've got the support of my husband, my mom and my dad, my friends as well. So it helps, and also the fact that people talk more about this. You're aware of this need of having a balance, a smooth and a right balance between your personal life and your work life. It's not easy every day, but it's something that I'm learning to do. I'm not very comfortable with the term sacrifices, to be honest, because I don't feel like I have sacrificed something, because I think it was the right moment for me to start my business, and it was a deep will, a deep envy. So it was just, if we can talk about sacrifice, maybe a good salary. That's a very it would be the secure end of month basically.
Yes, indeed, you're starting from scratch financially.
Yes, indeed. That's the very big challenge. I think is to basically create your own salary and make sure that you earn enough money, and you're going to work to earn that amount of money that will allow you to reach your goals, your personal goals as well. Yes, indeed. That's the very big challenge. I think is to basically create your own salary and make sure that you earn enough money, and you're going to work to earn that amount of money that will allow you to reach your goals, your personal goals as well. Well, I probably am going to say my kids. They gave me, well, a frame, a daily frame. Every day I need to wake up, and take care of them and my husband and my family. So they really drive me in my daily routine. Wow, that's a big question. I think a successful mindset lays in the probably the goal that someone has. You can't lose, that vision, the big picture. You have to keep in mind the big picture and start small. Really, this is what I was told to do, and I think it's a good. It was a very good piece of advice. Well, I think you need to bear in mind, the people, and the reason why you're doing this. To me, is really for the people. It's for me also, to be honest. Being an entrepreneur is also being a bit selfish, but it's also about answering a problematic to help people, to reach their goals, to get better, to improve a situation. So yeah, it's really, the positive impact that you're going to have on the people in the end. Well, I'm my own boss. A leader, I think it's really something you have to. It's two different things, because I relate boss, to myself, being a boss to myself, and I impose things to myself, a discipline and also challenges. But leadership is it really has to do with guiding people and giving your best to attract the best in each person that surrounds you. A bit of both, maybe. But for sure, this is something you can learn. There are great leaders, they were not raised as leaders. And this is definitely something you can learn and acquire, in your everyday life. I think what makes me proud is the fact that I can actually have an impact on people. I can, I think I really can help them. And, by helping them, I can help my family, and raise my kids and, earn the life we want, and the life that we chose, going back to La Réunion. Yes, indeed. Well, hopefully. I think the first lesson that I've learned is probably to be patient and flexible. You might have the envy to do things quickly, to get money, because you need to pay for the rent, you need to eat, you need to do plenty of things, and but certainly, being flexible allows you to face the challenges and, take a little step back to not to do the same mistakes again, and to think about doing things cleverly. I don't think they need. We need different skills. Starting your business requires pretty much the same skills, but there are many other things that you can add to those skills, soft skills, but also cultural skills, and it's not even a subject nowadays. The more you bring varieties into a project, the best it is actually. It's going to get richer and more interesting. I believe in diverse cultural habits and knowledge as well. Well, I certainly listen to a lot of podcasts, local ones, such as Entrepreneur d'Outre-mer or Bat Carré, but also national ones like le podcast de Pauline Legnaud, or in a similar way, there is this one that I really like. It's American. It's called How I Built This, and it basically tells about different entrepreneurship journeys by very famous brands or founders. So it did help me in my construction and developing confidence as well surrounding my business. I want to build an empire. I'm joking, but no, actually, before I started my business, I had this idea. Yeah, maybe I could build this big thing, because I was listening to these great careers and great industry stories, but. I think today, what really matters to me is to make the biggest positive impact. But that means also developing my business. So I'd like to work with more people, and people that are better than I am, to create a real positive impact on learning English, helping people to access education on a local level, especially. So yeah, this is the idea, to develop my business with other people and make it more accessible. This is a very, very hard question for me. Because I've got so many people, in mind, people that I don't know, but also the people that I know. I'm thinking about artists, local artists. I want to name, people like David Sicard, for example, who does amazing things, on stage, but also in the backstage, with people, I also want to mention maybe my family, my parents, who have taught me, the values that I have today. These are the people I'm thinking of right now. I think I would say exciting. Exciting because there's a lot of meaning in what I found a lot of meaning in what I'm doing, and it's also part of the journey, the travel, that I'm doing, and so yeah, I think it's exciting. Well, you mentioned the word dream. We're not allowed to dream enough nowadays, and actually, I think today is the International Day of Dreams. I heard that on the radio this morning, and so I think that's what we need to keep in mind. We need to keep dreaming, and we need to get the right people, around us. Because we can't do things on our own. You need to have supportive people with you in this journey. So select the people and just go and do things, the way you dream it, and enjoy it. Well, thank you very much for inviting me and for all your questions. And I've been really honored to be here and discussing with you today. To know more about my business, you can meet me on LinkedIn. This is a social media I use a lot, and I encourage people to use it because it's really working. From a business point of view, professionally speaking. Go on LinkedIn. So you can find me at Elia Barré on LinkedIn, and soon enough I'll have my website. But again, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very honored.
So thank you again, Elia, for joining us today. On behalf of all our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who needs entrepreneurial inspiration. We'll be back in our next episode with more stories from incredible women in business. Until then, keep pushing forward and chasing those dreams. Do not forget to check out project resources. So this podcast episode has been recorded within the framework of the Eyewear Project, empowering young entrepreneurs, women with education and additional resources.